like Greg said, if you're in the office, you're already into a situation where, had you made that phone call, you probably wouldn't be there, for the reasons that they're gonna, bring forward.
The facts, dates, and events presented in this video are from the member's best recollection and may not be fully accurate. This video is intended for entertainment purposes only. Always consult with your local union about your rights and duties at your workplace. The opinions shared on this video are our own and do not necessarily represent my employer's positions, strategies, or opinions. All views shared are protected under the National Labor Relations Act.
What is going on, everybody? So today I have business agent Phil Pleska out of 346 in Duluth, Minnesota, and Greg Kerwood out of Local 25 in Boston. And so we're covering CYA, cover your ass. This is a topic that we could probably talk endlessly about. There's so many different scenarios of this. And I think every steward and every business agent out there has seen a case where they're in the office with somebody and they're wondering, why didn't you just do A, B, and C? Otherwise, we wouldn't be in here right now, right? So I'm going to throw the questions. Phil, we see all too often that a driver may, let's say they're backing up and they kind of chipped a mailbox and they look around, they see nobody saw them, so they just drive off. This is something we see all too often. What do you have to say about all this stuff?
To be quite honest, as bluntly as I can put it, beat the customer to the phone call. Call your local supervisor, call your business manager, definitely reach out to your stewards, or if you can't get a hold of your stewards, somebody else, maybe if you have an alternate steward or a backup steward. We're a small enough local, where we all know each other throughout the upper half of the state of Minnesota, where, we can reach out to business agents if we need to as well, because, small town Minnesota, we all kind of know everybody. But literally, my personal recommendation has always been beat the customer to the phone call. So, you're covering your ass as today's topic.
And so, Greg, let's say you have a member and you're in the office with them and they never made that phone call. They never reached out to anybody. They thought that they could pull a fast one and, maybe get away with it. I mean, what's your suggestions to all this?
Well, if we're in the office at that point, it's time to fess up and be honest, because you're only going to make it worse. If management got that phone call, chances are they've already gone out and talked to whoever may have witnessed it. Or worse, they've got video footage, which I've had happen many times. And the last thing you want to do is walk in there and be denying something that they have hard evidence that you did. They're going to nail you for dishonesty right off the bat. So if you're in that situation at that point, you failed to cover your ass, you need to be honest and upfront at that point, and start telling the truth so that you don't make the hole any deeper.
And so, Phil, you being a business agent, you've seen a number of these cases, correct?
Enough, between 20 years of being a steward and my work as a business agent now, which is still in its beginning stages, but I've seen enough over the last 20 to 25 years to answer. I've seen plenty where I understand how it should go versus how it actually goes. Like Greg said, if you're in the office, you're already into a situation where, had you made that phone call, you probably wouldn't be there, for the reasons that they're gonna, bring forward.
So let's say, Phil, you've been doing this a long time, and you've dealt with cases where I'm sure you've seen plenty of them, where as a steward, you're in the office with them, and not only that, now you have to go to panel. I mean, can you explain what you see behind the curtains with a lot of these cases?
Very, very light-footedly, I can. The way I would like to explain it, so everybody kind of understands, there's a grievance process, and obviously we all, if you have read your contract, understand how that goes. But the best advice I can give is get it settled, as early as possible, because some of the things that I've seen at what we call tri-state up here, or panel hearing, there's just stuff that comes out at a panel hearing that others aren't privileged to. And quite frankly, UPS is very diligent in doing their homework when it comes to a panel hearing. I sat in on one 2 months ago, where They had this guy dead to rights where their opening statement was literally 35 minutes long. UPS's was because it was a termination case. It was 35 minutes long, and some of the information they brought forth just blew my mind. This wasn't my case. Didn't know the guy. It was a different local, but he would have been better off literally saying, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I had an error in judgment. And should I be afforded the opportunity, of a second chance? I can promise you this will never happen again. Instead, he took the longer route, which his case ended up being 2 hours long, and he tried to combat everything that UPS had on him. And long story short, he ended up losing. And if you lose at a panel hearing, there's nothing for you after that. So my recommendation, my advice is to get it settled, air it out verbally, and if you got to have a local level hearing, try to get it settled there, because you don't want to go to panel.
Yeah, you actually brought up a good point. I've seen it too many times now where people think they, instead of owning up to their mistakes, they think they can be Perry Mason or something and
Right.
dig through like the little, hey, you never thought of it this way. I mean, Greg, you've ever seen that happen?
I have. Sometimes I think we have a building full of Perry Masons, but it doesn't tend to work out well. I mean, that's not to gloss over the fact that sometimes management is, making stuff up, or they're lying, or they're full of garbage. But when you did what you did it. And, getting that out of the way as soon as possible, settling that as soon as possible, owning up to it, is only going to help you. The longer you drag it out, the more they're going to come after you. And if you take it all the way to the panel, and it should have not gone past a local level hearing, or even just in the office with your steward, the company's going to bring out the big guns. And if they've got you, they got you. And it's not going to end well.
And so there's the other side of this, where you have the driver that goes out, has a question. Like, let's say, for instance, this actually happened to me. I actually had a member who it was after 5 o'clock. This is back before you could have missed pieces after 5. So it was after 5 o'clock. It was a bunch of commercial stops. He's sheeting them up missed. He gets a phone call like 10 minutes later from his senior manager. Hey, go ahead and delete all those missed and go ahead and driver release those commercial stops. So he does that. The next day, actually, I think it was like 3 days later, we're up in the LP's office, loss prevention's office, explaining what was going on. The guy had no idea. He was just like, I went ahead and, just followed what management told me to do. And, they did have the record showing that he had these missed and now they're driver released. But the whole reason why he was up there is because a customer saw their stuff sitting there when they came into work the next day. They called a complaint. Then loss prevention does an investigation. Then he gets pulled into it. Then he's got to tell his side of the story. And then, lucky for him, well, not really lucky, the center manager apparently had a different version of events where this phone call never took place. And he went ahead and driver released the stuff on his own volition, which ends up can cost you your job. And so, Greg, you've been doing this a long time. I'm kind of getting both of you guys involved in this. I mean, have you ever been in the office as well, like a similar story to that, where somebody is in trouble for following management's instructions?
Absolutely. And that's why all communication should be done through the dyad, not over a verbal phone conversation. Send it through the dyad. If they ask you to do something, even if you're on the phone with them and they ask you to do something that you think is incorrect or inappropriate or violates company policy, say absolutely no problem. Just send that direction to me through the dyad. Make them put it in writing, and then you have the opportunity when you get back to the building to get your dyad messages for the day. Contractually, you have that right, and make sure you have a record of everything I told you to do.
And Phil, in Minnesota, do you have the same issue where management may give the wrong information to a driver?
Yeah, quite often. One of my one of my bullet points out when I was out in Washington D.C. For business agent training. There was a whole hour training session on documentation. They came in, document, and they talked about that. In the UPS world, like Greg said, make sure that you're having messages. If they're text messages, screenshot and save, and email them, or more importantly, run them through the dyad board, like he said. And I was also a part-time feeder driver, and there's feeder drivers known as WADs, W-A-D, work as directed. So, in steward work, and what I pass down to my stewards is tell your members to WAD, work as directed, but document. The more paper trail that you can possibly have, the better. Too many times people, messages get mixed up in a phone call, or messages get mixed up, through text message, and then somebody says, oops, and tries to delete something off their phone. Well, screenshot it and save it and email it to your steward, or email it to, your business agent if you've got their contact or whatever. But, at the end of the day, it was literally always been about documentation.
If you have not done so already, follow Greg. I'm gonna throw the 401k page. Follow Greg Kerwood's 401k page. Is there any links you want me to add, Phil?
We have our local website. It's teamsterslocal346.com. You can go there and surf around. If you're a 346 member, we highly recommend you register, and there's so many things that you can explore and do on the website.
Well, hey, we appreciate your local and you coming on this channel and helping educate the members. So, shout outs. Phil, you're our guest tonight. Shout outs. Who you want to shout out tonight?
I'd like to throw a shout out to all the members, just under 2,000 of us here at Local 346 in northern Minnesota. More specifically, to any of my UPS stewards that work diligently, to take care of our members, because I spent 31 years of my career at UPS. That's kind of home for me, so shout out to all the brothers and sisters in brown.
My shout out's going to go to everybody dealing with this heat and humidity. Please take care of yourself. Take breaks. Notify management if you need a break. Find a place to cool down. Take your lunches. And if for whatever reason you're not getting through it, do not be afraid to call 911 and get help. We're getting too many reports of people ending up in the hospital, people dying, people ending up in serious long-term health situations. It's a ridiculously difficult job on a good day. It's almost impossible when it's hot and humid. But you need to take care of yourself first. The boxes will be there tomorrow, and we need you to be there for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, and Greg's 100%. Seeing things in the lens that we see things, we kind of have a finger on the pulse in a lot of different areas of the country right now, being the position we're in, and we just keep getting reports after reports after reports of people going to hospitals and unfortunately dying. It's this has been one of the worst summers I've seen since I've worked here, and so just please take care of yourself. And I guess my shout out is going to go to these two lovely fellows. Giving Up Date Night on Saturday night. This is actually being filmed the day before I release it. So, hey, fresh off the press. Appreciate you guys. Love ya. And I'll see you next time.